Do I have to?
Just like school. Just like school. We're not going to do it well. Hey, I'm married to a cardiologist, so, you know, there's a whip in my house. Okay. I'm not writing this down. This is only I know. Is that what I know? She's married to Scott. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have plenty of seats, so if anybody in the back would like to come in and sit down, please go ahead and move towards taking a seat. Good afternoon. I'm going to call to order this public meeting of the Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners for August 27th, 2019. To my left is Ron Carl, the county attorney. To my far right is Jolene Sanchez, the clerk to the board administrator. Ms. Sanchez, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Conde?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Commissioner Sharp? Here. Commissioner Holland?
Here.
Commissioner Jackson?
Here.
Commissioner Baker?
Here. Commissioner Jackson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this afternoon?
There are no modifications.
I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or against? Seeing none, that motion carries unanimously. This is the time that we've set aside for citizens to address the Board of County Commissioners on any non-agenda items. If there are any citizens here that would like to address the board about anything other than what we have at on the general business agenda, would you please make yourself known to me? Seeing none, we will close the citizen comment period. We have some administrative business to take care of. We have two sets of minutes, from one set from July 30th and the other set from August 6th. They were both full boards. So are there any comments, questions, or any motions to approve those?
I move both minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Conde. Any objection? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No abstentions? Then those 2 minutes are approved. We have several items on our consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments, or motions to move anything from the consent agenda to the general business item? Seeing none.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, our consent agenda items are approved. We have one general business item today, and we'll be hearing a presentation from Michelle Halstead. But first, Mr. Carl, would you please lay the foundation for this general business item?
Yes, this matter was scheduled for the board to consider the adoption of a resolution referring a ballot question on a property tax increase for public safety purposes to the voters at the November 5th, 2019 coordinated election. A revised proposed resolution, which has the ballot question attached to it as Exhibit A, is being presented to you here today, and a copy has been provided to the clerk of the board administrator for placement in the record, and copies have been put on the back table for public review. For your information, the revised proposed resolution has the same comment as the previous version provided to you and posted online. We have made some minor punctuation and grammatical edits and changes in the ordering of certain provisions. This matter was properly noticed, and the board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. Good afternoon, Ms. Halstead. Would you go ahead with your presentation, please?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So Arapahoe County has been having conversations with our community to address the long-term needs of the county, and this brief presentation will recap the process to date and highlight the proposal in front of you. If you live here, you already know that Arapahoe County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. We're home to 13 cities and towns, 9 school districts, and 650,000 residents. We anticipate the population to grow to 800,000 by 2030, making Arapahoe County the largest county in Metro Denver. And that growth is driving the need for additional county services and replacement of aging infrastructure. We're at a critical point. Nearly half of the county's budget is funded through property taxes and sales taxes that only go to open space. Roughly 1/3 is funded by federal and state governments that need and use county services. And we also receive funding from fees for things like license renewal, as well as interest on investments and fines. The county currently spends about 25% of its budget on public safety services, with the second largest area of investment being human services. Arapahoe County also has some of the lowest property taxes in the state at 13.302 mills. And while we collect property taxes, we keep very little of what we collect for county use. The rest goes to school districts, cities and towns within the county, and other special districts that provide things like water, transportation, and fire response services. And 62% of the county's open space sales and use tax is shared with our cities, our towns, and special districts. So Arapahoe County has a reputation for being an efficiently run and fiscally responsible government, but growth presents new challenges. In 2016, the commissioners began the process of studying the growing needs of the county and how best to meet those needs. This work resulted in a detailed analysis of budget trends and fiscal issues, identifying more than 240 county programs and their associated levels of service and the funding needed to achieve that desired level of service. And at the end of the study, it was clear 2 areas rose above the rest in terms of urgency and priority. First, the county's existing judicial center, and particularly the aging, outdated county jail, emerged as an urgent public safety need. Both the jail and the courts have been expanded over the years to accommodate the increased population and use. And both the jail and the courts have reached a point where further expansion simply isn't possible. Second, transportation, including maintaining the existing infrastructure and combating congestion, was identified by the community as a key quality of life issue. While the proposal before you focuses on the jail and the associated programs and services, the county has begun a year-long discussion on how to address transportation needs with our municipal and regional partners, and conversations around the courthouse and other public safety facilities will continue in the years ahead. We've done significant outreach in 2019 to both educate and engage our community. We've also completed further analysis to provide additional information to the board and residents alike. We've advanced conceptual design from both a facility and programming perspective on the jail, consistent with the 10-year Judicial Center Master Plan. We've refined financial analysis and models, including potential funding options for your consideration. And the board convened the Long Range Planning Committee, a group of 25 residents, businesses, and community leaders to provide recommendations on a path forward. And the outreach efforts included individual meetings with community leaders, in-person and telephone town halls, social media, digital and print advertising, and video and in-person tours of the jail facility itself. The analysis demonstrates that we do not have enough money within the county's existing budget to fund the building or operations of a new jail. We cannot cut or efficiency our way out of this challenge. The Long Range Planning Committee spent 12 weeks meeting this year, and their initial recommendations cited the unanimous need for a new jail and new revenue to fund construction, operations, and maintenance. They were split on how to fund this measure, but they leaned towards a property tax. And the committee's work is not done. The committee will continue the conversation around transportation, open space, the courthouse, and other district attorney facilities in the months ahead. So we've identified a three-prong approach to use budget wisely and ensure that our communities stay safe. First, we need to keep people who don't need to be there out of jail, and our efforts to date have seen a double-digit decrease in the overall jail population. We also need to make sure that individuals within the criminal justice system are engaged with the services, such as mental health and substance abuse treatment, that give them the greatest likelihood of reentering the community and not reoffending. And finally, we need to build safe, modern facilities that help us accomplish our goal of officer safety and inmate rehabilitation. And the proposal in front of you represents the first step in a multi-phase approach. So a new, safe, and modern jail would include a new booking and release center, additional beds, new medical and behavioral units, and additional classroom and multi-purpose space. And the construction cost of this planned facility is approximately $464 million. But this justice isn't about a new space. The approach also uses areas of the facility to expand critical programs and services to improve our criminal justice system. For example, we want to keep first-time and non-violent offenders out of jail by expanding alternative sentencing options and the pretrial programs. We want to expand programs to address mental health and substance abuse to keep our officers safe. And we also want to expand the programs that reduce likelihood of reoffending for the 16,000 individuals that return to the community each year. So construction of a new facility, as well as delivering the expanded programs, operations, and ongoing maintenance, would require a 3.4 mil property tax increase, which for an average home in Arapahoe County is about $5.66 per month or $68 per year. Following the completion of construction and debt payments, a portion of the mill levy would sunset, reducing the increase to 2.3 mils. And a citizen advisory committee would be appointed by the board to review and monitor the expenditures associated with this measure. So in closing, if voters approve this measure, the county's mill levy would still remain lower than the other 7 counties in Metro Denver. The blue line on the graph represents our current mill levy, while the orange line would represent the increase. And that concludes my presentation, Commissioners.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions initially for Michelle at this point? If not, thank you very much. The chair would like to recognize our sheriff, Tyler Brown, and just let everybody know that we have not been doing this and our staff have not been doing this in a vacuum. This has been a true partnership with our sheriff's office, studying, analyzing, and looking at this from any number of different points of view. Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. all commissioners, thank you for allowing me this time to address all of you, and thank you for this effort that we've all put forward. Thank you for your guys' service and our little summer concert series, our little tour that we were on together, explaining where we're at currently with our detention facility. I'd also like to thank the Long Range Planning Committee for their efforts of meeting over the last 12 weeks this summer to discuss this issue and where we are currently as a county in terms of our jail. I believe it's critical that the county build a modern and safe detention facility. It will keep my staff safe inside the jail, and it will be a better use of taxpayer money to make the public at large safer. Studies have shown that inmates who receive comprehensive treatment are less likely to reoffend when they reenter the community. Assaults on our staff are at an all-time high. Over the last 3 years, they've increased 120%. And this is something that I take very seriously. I want our people to come to work and to be able to go home and enjoy the things in life that they've worked hard for. I believe that that's the most important thing. I stress to our staff that they work so that they can live. They don't live to work. We recently had an assault on a staff member who was booking an inmate in. He was punched in the head, fell back, unconscious, and hit his head on the concrete and had to be transported to the hospital. So these are the things that we're looking at. We're putting pressures on our system today that it wasn't intended for. Our jail was built in 1986 for 386 inmates, and on average we house 1,100 inmates per day. Today our in-custody count was 1,137 inmates. This has caused us to have to triple bunk people. Our book and release area was designed for 29 inmates, and at any given time we could have upwards of 80 individuals in that area being booked in. So if you can imagine, these put a lot of pressures on the system and a lot of pressure on individuals who aren't really excited to be in the place that they're at right now. The inmates are packed into pods. And this takes a toll on our plumbing and our electrical, and in areas they're failing. Our plumbing's failing in certain areas, our electrical's failing in certain areas. It even puts pressure on the walls and the floors. This building's in use 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So there's a lot of issues when you add that much pressure onto a facility. Most importantly, we want to move away from just warehousing individuals. We want to really get into treatment. While people are with us, even though it's for a short time, they return to their communities. We want to improve their lives with the use of drug treatment, alcohol treatment, mental health programs, domestic abuse prevention, education programs, and more. We are committed to returning people back to our communities better than when they came to jail. So as you know, the jail is beyond repair. We have to ask ourselves if we want to keep throwing good money after bad problems. Our use of taxpayer dollars would be more wisely spent in building a new, modern, safe facility that allows us to return people back to their communities better than they came to jail. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next, I'd like to just ask if there's any questions from staff, from any staff that have worked on this project. If not, then we are going to begin the public comment portion of the meeting. We had 2 individuals sign up, but I noticed that there were some folks that came in after the sign-up sheet was delivered to me. So just rest assured, if you're here to speak to us on this matter, I will be giving you an opportunity to be heard. So I am going to open up for public comment. The first name I have on the list is Kevin Hogan. Would you please come forward? And you'll have 3 minutes, Mr. Hogan. If you'll keep your eye on the yellow and red lights up here in the front, closer to me.
Thank you.
And if you would state your name and address for the record before you begin, and a reminder that you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Hogan. I'm actually the President and CEO of the Aurora Chamber of Commerce. I reside at 17515 East Wesley Place here in Aurora, Colorado. I've been a resident here in Arapahoe County since 1979. I think that's 40 years if I count with my fingers and toes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've also been on the long-range budget plan for about the last 18 months, and I really wanted to come here and commend you for the visionary, hard work that you as commissioners are doing, putting this much-needed initiative on the ballot. But I also want to thank the staff for the unbelievable countless hours of time and dedication to really bring the challenges forward that we have. I believe we know that Arapahoe County will continue to be the fastest growing county in the state. But when you talk to the Office of Economic Development and International Trade, it'll tell you that really 30% of the state's growth in the next 10 years is going to be in the eastern metro area of this community. So I just really wanted to step forward and thank you and the staff for the hard work and the dedication. We need a safe facility for not only the detainees, but we also heard from our sheriff about the staff and about their families that are there. I think we have all recognized a huge need that has really challenged not only us here in Colorado, but across the country, if not the world, on mental health issues. And so the need to separate the detainees that have the behavioral health needs and those that need to be maybe restrained in a different manner are so needed. So I just really wanted to come forward for a few minutes and thank you. The hard work. This is not something that's just happened overnight. It's been happening across the state and across the country with such a phenomenal opportunity in economic growth. But I think today our economic development directors will tell you that it's more than just jobs. It's taking care of those in the community that need it, but also the work that's being done in affordable housing, our homeless issues, all come back to a safe environment for our judicial system and for the jail. So thank you so much again for the hard work and the visionary work that you've done. It'll be a hard haul at the ballot this fall, but a much needed one for the growth of the fastest growing county here in the state. So thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. The next individual that had signed up to speak is Mark Lambert. Mr. Lambert, if you could come forward, and again, the yellow light will come on when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light means you need to wrap up. And if you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Lambert, 9022 East Colorado Drive. It's amazing that I'm here not speaking on behalf of Four Square Mile Development issue. I think that's the last time I spoke before you. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this important long-range planning committee. It was a great process that you set up. The process, albeit fast-paced, I think very well worked and well planned out by the staff. And the staff, as my previous committee person, Kevin, spoke as well, the staff did a fantastic job of getting us through this entire process. The many presentations that we heard at the very beginning were helpful in setting the stage for the future tasks that you have asked the Long Range Planning Committee, and I believe that I know I'm up for it. I believe that my fellow members are also on the committee. They're up for it as well. I'm in full support, basically, of the outcome of all of our committee discussions, in that we would like you to adopt the resolution to propose a mill levy increase to replace our outdated detention facility. After all the pictures that we've seen, all the tours and everything like that, it is unbelievable that we treat somebody that really doesn't deserve that type of treatment. As we always say, we never treat our friends, we never treat our inmates, but we're treating our inmates unbelievably poorly. And even though they might have done something wrong, they don't need to be treated as second and third and fourth class citizens. So the facilities, especially for the protection of our staff, the detention staff, is very much warranted. As you heard from the sheriff, the injuries to the staff that we pay to protect them are being injured because of the heavy crowding and the overcrowding and everything like that. We just don't like to see that. So the new facility will address the committee's concerns about having a facility that will protect the detention staff as well as the inmates and provide classrooms, most important, to hopefully keep our frequent flyers from returning. I again appreciate the opportunity to participate in this process and thank all of you for having the foresight to address this issue at this time and not kicking the problem down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. All right. Are there any other citizens? If you just raise your hand, I get an idea of how many people. I'm going to start with this section, and then I'll move to the middle and save over here for last. So come forward, please. And if you'd state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. Wynn Meyers. My address is 2520 South Tucson Way, Aurora, Colorado. And I got to participate with these fine folks you've heard from on the Long Range Planning Committee. I'm also part of the Denver South Economic Development Partnership, your economic development organization. So personally and professionally, thank you for doing this. Thank your staff for great comments. Well done. I think you've heard it all. I think one of the things I didn't hear just since I arrived a little bit later was not only the facility, but this will allow programs to put in place that we can address some of the current social issues, whether it be counseling or job counseling or mental health issues. And we have training facilities to do that, to make Arapahoe County, again, a leader in this area. So I'm totally in support of it. I want to thank you for doing it. Thank your staff. And I'm going to get out there and help you campaign and get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. Okay, was there other hands over here? Please come forward. And again, you'll have 3 minutes. Keep your eye on the yellow and red light. But if you'd state your name and address for the record.
Commissioners, thanks for having me. I'm Dr. John Gay. I live at 5866 South Genoa Court in Aurora. I've been there over 20 years. I'm going to take a different tack. I want you to think about 33 years ago where you were. I'll bet you could jump higher, run faster, and eat a lot more, not gain weight. Now fast forward. Today, I can't jump as high. I can't run as fast. I can't eat as much. I gain weight just by looking at it. Now why am I telling you this? We have a facility that's over 33 years old. It can't jump anymore. It can't run anymore. It can't facilitate anymore. And if you want to classify it, it's an outhouse. It's an outbuilding. It's not up to date. It's not up to modern needs. Now, do times change? Yes. And as times change, we need to change. Does that make sense? Okay. What do we need? We need a facility that will meet the demands of the future. We need a facility that just not locks up inmates, but it is able to, guess what? Educate them and direct them and lead them to success. You can't do that in an outhouse. It smells horrible, as a lot of people say. Okay? So I want to thank you for letting us represent you. I want to thank the Long Range Planning Committee for all the effort we put in to be able to tell you we definitely need a new jail. And guess what? That mill levy is so low. We're still lower than most of them, and it's time to do it. And every minute that we waste, guess what happens? It costs more. So why are we waiting? We should have done it 15 years ago. Now, I'm asking all of you, will you jump higher? Will you run faster? Will you eat less with me? Let's build this damn thing. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gay.
Okay.
Anybody else over in this section? Yes, please come forward. And again, as always, state your name and address for the record, please.
All right. Good morning or good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kerri Kelly, and I live at 7009 South Steel Street in Centennial, Colorado. I am a lifelong resident of Arapahoe County, having grown up in Inglewood, and my husband and I have raised our family in Littleton, and I own a business in Inglewood as well. So you can imagine that over the time, I have seen a lot of changes in our county. And I can only imagine how difficult it is as leaders to keep up with that change and to keep up with the pace of all the people that are moving here and falling in love with Arapahoe County just like we have. I want to thank you today. That's the reason I came. Number one, first of all, to thank you for your leadership in convening the Long Range Planning Committee. It was a very good, diverse group of people. It had a lot of wonderful conversation. I want to thank the staff as well as my fellow members have done, because you've brought together a great group of people and a staff that educated us well and framed the issues for us well. So I hope that when you came to hear the discussion from the community members, that gave you insight into what future conversations from our community are going to be around this issue. Secondly, I would like to thank you for your bold, forward-thinking leadership. It can be very, very easy right now to kick the can down the road and hope that something like this just kind of maintains and doesn't become a crisis. You have shown that you're willing to put the safety of your staff and the safety of our community members that are part of the jail first, which in turn benefits the health and wellness and the safety of our community as a whole. So in closing, I just want to say thank you for being bold leaders. And thank you for putting the health and the wellness and the safety of our community first. I look forward to working with you and working on a campaign to help educate the community members as to the importance of this bold initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren-Gully. Any other hands over in this section wanting to speak? I'll move to the center section. If there's anyone, please come forward in the back, and then I'll get you in a minute here, sir. Again, time limit is 3 minutes. You have a yellow warning light when you have 30 seconds. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Commissioners, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Tobias, and I live in 3743 South Helena Way, Aurora, Colorado, 80013. And I was a participant in the LRPC, the Long Range Planning Committee. And I do appreciate all of the work that the committee has done to look at all of the issues, the challenges that the county is facing these days. I think the key issue, of course, is the jail and making sure that we maintain and provide a safe place for both the staff, most importantly, and also the inmates. I mean, we have got to keep and provide a safe facility. I also chair the Public Defenders Commission in Aurora, and we partner with the county jail system quite a lot. We have people going back and forth, and our clients, it's important that they're treated fairly and safely in both the Aurora jail and the county jail. So again, I want to thank you. I support this initiative. I'm a 31-year resident of Aurora and Arapahoe County, and I appreciate your efforts and hope we can move forward and get this project done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tobias. Sir, if you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. John Bartman, 18678 East Grand Circle in Aurora. I come to you here today as the Vice President of the Arapahoe Fraternal Order Police, Lodge 31. Lodge 31 represents over 460 plus members of the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. We, as a membership, support this for the safety of our members, both in the detention facility and our members who work in the community. We also support this for the safety of our community as a whole. Assaults on detention deputies have been on the rise due to overcrowding and lack of space for mental health treatment. We support starting this project as soon as possible and understand that even if approved by the voters this fall, it will take years to gather the funds designed to build the structures. During that time, we will have to make do with the current facilities, which present safety concerns for staff, visitors, and inmates. The Arapahoe Fraternal Order Police Lodge 31 is not alone in this. 2 weeks ago at the National FOB Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Colorado delegation was asked to vote on the state FOP's vote for state FOP support for the new Arapahoe County Detention Facility. The vote of the Colorado delegation was unanimous. So we now have, the Sheriff's Office now has support of the state FOP also for this project. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bartman. Anyone else in the center section that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners on this? Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners? Please, Mr. Arnold, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Keep your eye on the lights in the front, but state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Brian Arnold, 19185 East Prentice Circle, Centennial, California, or not California, from Colorado, right? Yeah, Colorado 80015. Gotcha. You said there's some lights on here to tell me how much time?
No, right up here in the front.
Oh.
Yeah, but please continue.
All right. So, I wanted to just address one as a citizen of the County of Arapahoe, also as a business person that works in Aurora, and I work with folks that are in a transitional housing program. I work in that transitional. We house folks that are straight out of incarceration or jail or what have you. So we house inmates, and so in favor of making sure this project happens. It's super important, not only for the mental health issues that are among us that we have to figure out as a society how to deal with, but just as, you know, the inhabitants that are in the county jail right now are living in a place that I don't think, obviously none of us would want to be there. The ones that are there are just living in almost inhabitable conditions, and it's not the fault of, you know, I guess circumstances have created it where there's just more people there than it was designed to be. And it's at a position now where it's been there for so many years that the wear and tear and everything else that goes along with it, because it wasn't designed for that, is not working for the facility to be able to house people in I guess a humane way, I would want to say. I am not in favor of just adding jails. I'm not afraid. In fact, I would love for some more prisons to be closed down that aren't. But this isn't that circumstance. This is a circumstance where it is a facility that's going to be used. It will be continue to be used, and there will be people in our county who will need to be in that facility for whatever the amount of time, whether it's for a couple days or whether for a couple of years. And they need to know that they're going to be able to get not only a safe place to be, because I don't believe it's a safe place, but they also need to have a place where they can get programming that can stop folks from having to go there. You know, and I mentioned the mental health issues that we have, and the same things that we deal with at our transitional house. I have 23 staff that work with 50 beds. And we're doing a great job, but I couldn't do it with 5 staff. I couldn't do it with 8 staff. I couldn't do it with, 200 people in our house. You know, it's the right mix. And so I think for this project, we need to make sure that we have the right mix. And so I want to just make sure that I'm saying that I am in support 100% of us figuring out where that money is coming from, get the money to do it, have the county put it together. Let's make a facility that is something that we can be proud of, instead of something that we're trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do if more people show up. And then hopefully as a result of that, more people don't show up. And we figure out programming and everything else so that jail will go from holding 1,100 people to holding 400 or 500 people, but in a way that is humane for them. So,
thank you very much, Mr. Arnold.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other members of the public that would like to address the Board of County Commissioners on this issue? Seeing none, I will end public comment. This is the time that we've got to have some discussion among the commissioners. And I'll start, that's prerogative of the chair here, to say a few words about this very long and very intense analysis that we've just gone through. First of all, I want to thank our staff for their very hard work, and our consultants, the Elders Group, for their very hard work in helping the commissioners navigate this very complex issue. Today's the culmination of many hours, days, weeks, and yes, even years of analysis and planning. We have heard from a lot of members of the public. I've heard from members of the public, some who are opposed to the ballot measure. of those who have voiced their opinion to me, their opposition to having a tax increase pay for this funding, it has solely been on the method of funding, not arguing the merits of a new detention facility. I will be voting in favor of the resolution today to put the funding measure on the ballot and allow our citizens to vote for or against it this November. I have two main reasons why I am going to be voting in favor of this. Having worked in facilities management for 13 years here in the county, for 13 years, I know that in the 33 years since this jail was built, there have been a lot of technology advancements, a lot of developments in building systems, plumbing, electrical, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and lighting systems have all seen rapid technological advances in the last few years. And I believe that the efficiency of a new facility, I believe that with even increased square footage being covered in this new proposed facility, the county may be able to include resource and energy conservation measures that will result in lowered utility bills and a smaller carbon footprint. Secondly, my area of emphasis has always been on the ability to conduct programs in the facility. By adding space for faith-based initiatives, our community partners in the faith-based community to have worship services, religious counseling, education, scripture study, we can do our best to ensure that the inmates are being able to be given that opportunity to utilize, as they choose, that type of program to improve their lives and the lives of their loved ones when they're released. So again, I will be voting in favor of this. I would like to recognize Commissioner Bill Holen for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too am going to be supporting this ballot measure, and the reason is twofold. First of all, as the sheriff so eloquently presented, we're seeing an increase in violence at the facility, inmate to inmate assaults, and what really concerns me is the inmate to deputy assaults. One of the precipitants of this kind of increase is the fact that we have a booking and release center that is so small and designed to take 29 prisoners at a time. That's almost three times that number. The booking and release facility is also not only taking violent prisoners in, but also releasing prisoners who have served their time and going back to the community, as well as having family members in this same in the confines of this very limited space. It's a disaster that's beginning to build. I think we need, in good conscience, to ensure that our staff and our deputies are protected, that they have adequate room to keep prisoners, incoming prisoners, separated, and reducing in an effort to reduce the violence. In addition to our deputies, when local policemen from the various cities bring their prisoners in, they're putting themselves in jeopardy as well. So it's not just it's for the safety of all our community law enforcement personnel. It was clear from what was already stated here by some of the law enforcement officers and some of the representatives of the police unions that there is a strong support amongst our deputies and police officers in support of this effort. So I think in the effort of improving safety, providing more room for separation of our prisoners coming in, as well as providing room, additional space for rehabilitation programs, I'm supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holen. Commissioner Conde.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think most of you know, and my reputation has been, that I am very much in support of prevention, preventing the problems from happening from the outset, rather than being reactive once the problem has happened, which largely government is. What can we do to move ourselves forward, back the bus up? What can we do to have prevented that problem from happening to begin with? I've watched our friends in Douglas County as they implemented a program to be just that proactive measure. It has shown incredible results to reduce with ride-along counselors, with officers out in the field, following up with people who have had mental health instances, who have been at hospitals, and dealing with those problems preactively before they become a problem that has to be dealt with from the legal system. They have reduced the inmates that they've reduced entries into the hospitals, reduced inmates going to the jails, and it has been an overwhelming success. The thought that we can implement such programs in addition to the programs that we would have in the jail, but also out in the field to prevent those kinds of additions into the jail system is truly inspiring to me. And I, wholeheartedly support this measure. And the idea that we can meet people where they're at, answer the needs that they have in the changing society that we have, and be proactive about helping them and making a better society where we all can live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Conde. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, want to just, before I start, add my thanks to the incredible staff that have helped us along the way, and the long-range planning committee, and to the citizens that came today and took their valuable time to speak to us. So thank you to all. I'm going to talk about criminal justice reform. It's, as you probably know, it's an area of interest to people of both sides of the aisle, if you will. In the county, we hope that this county can become a model for how it's done effectively, with a maximum benefit to the individuals in the jail, their families, to law enforcement, and to society at large. I'm going to vote to support the motion because, as a member of the state Colorado Criminal and Juvenile Justice Commission, chair of the Colorado County's Inc. Justice and Public Safety Committee, co-chair of the Governor's Safety Net Committee, chair of the Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners Board. Forgive me, I just felt like I needed to tell you. And because of what I've learned in my involvement in issues of behavioral health for over 30 years, I know that we need more adequate programming within and without our criminal justice system. Arapahoe County has already made great strides towards programming that provides diversion and treatment for individuals identified with behavioral health issues. Examples of just a few of our efforts include court date notification program, critical incident training for deputies and staff working in the jail and on patrol, work release weekends, Medicaid sign-ups, medical assistant treatment, pretrial risk assessments, pretrial navigator programs, pretrial supervision, the Bridges program, specialty courts, bond guidelines, and most recently, the co-responder program in Centennial. These programs help reduce time served inside the jail, access to treatment, and lower recidivism. But we could do so much more and extend more opportunities to more individuals. The jail is just the beginning of an overall public safety plan that includes the courthouse, which is in serious need of replacement, as it has numerous infrastructure challenges. Simply put, we need more space for programming and funds for diversion and pretrial programming, which are provided for in the ballot measure. Treatment works to reduce recidivism, provide pro-social models, and create opportunities. All of the people in the jail will be released someday. We want them returned to their communities in healthier and connected to services that they may need. We do not want to see them return to jail. So for these reasons and many more, I'm going to vote to support.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Sharp.
Like everyone else, I want to thank all of you all who are here from the Long Range Planning Committee. It was an extremely helpful process to hear from all of you all, and I appreciate all the time that you took and invested in this issue. And staff, of course, who for years has been putting a tremendous amount of effort into gathering information for us to make a good decision and to lead up to this day today. We also had a lot of citizens, as we did town halls, that came to meetings and invested their time, and I know many of them came on jail tours and then went back to their neighborhoods and their communities and are talking about this issue. So just want to add my thanks there. I have lived in Arapahoe County for more than 40 years, and about 25 of those have been invested in public service and as an elected official. And I know firsthand for all of those years how fiscally responsible this county is. Arapahoe County's general fund is subject to Tabor Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, so the county must live within its means, and those are restricted means. Only 8 counties out of 64 in the state still have a general fund that is subject to Tabor. Our county has, over the years, used process improvements, elimination of unnecessary programs, and much more to be a lean county, yet to provide the level of service that our citizens expect and that we want to provide. Many people don't know that almost everything that we do in the county is mandated. We don't have a choice of whether we do it or not. We have to do it. And that's mandated by the federal government or the state government. Now, we can say we're not going to do it at quite the level that citizens expect or want or need, but we must have those programs. So we have spent years reviewing a large amount of information, data, reaching out to citizens about rebuilding a 33-year-old jail, providing funding for other public safety infrastructure in the future, hopefully related to the courthouse, which has been said is also about the same age. And at this point, I must decide and had to decide whether to support a ballot initiative that asked our citizens to invest a substantial amount of money into public service. I am going to support this measure because having a detention facility, again, is mandated. It is our responsibility, and it's our responsibility as elected officials to have a detention facility that is safe for our staff, for the people who are incarcerated there, whether it's 2 days or 2 years. They need to be safe, and as others have said, programming that hopefully when they will be released and when they are, that they end up having more resources available to them or have committed to work or education that will help them in the future. For me, there are 2 really important things for my support, and one is that we have a citizens review committee. I think it's really important that citizens look at how the money is spent. This will be a long process, and we want to make sure that that our citizens feel confident that that money is being spent in the way that it will be talked about in the ballot measure, the way we have talked about, and that will continue for years into the future as a facility, if voted on as a facility would be built. The second thing is that what's really important to me is the sunset. I do feel like that once the capital is paid for, the mill levy should be reduced, and that was important to me too. I think when we look at all of our revenues, I agree that, and have been open to, I think we all have, if there's something in there when we've turned over all the rocks and there's something that can support this amount of money to do this that's there, I'd like to know what it is, because I can't see it. I can't find it. After all these years, I really truly believe that to build the kind of facility that we need for all of the things that we have talked about up here, we can't do it out of our current budget. So I have read the ballot language. I will support it to go to the voters, and we'll do our best to educate voters independently as individual citizens, and to let them decide whether this is an important issue. I believe it is for Arapahoe County. Thank you.
Thank you. The board recognizes Commissioner Jackson for the purposes of a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for your words, fellow commissioners. As you all know, Arapahoe County's been working on the jail and courthouse issue for at least 16 years. Within the last 3 years, we've evaluated alternatives, called in experts, gotten community feedback, and now, in my opinion, it's time to check in with our citizens on this matter. So therefore, I move to adopt without modification the resolution presented here today, referring a ballot measure to authorize a property tax increase to improve public safety in Arapahoe County, which will be voted on at the November 5th, 2019 coordinated election.
And I will be happy to second that motion. So the motion was made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. Are there any commissioner comments this afternoon? Seeing none, we are adjourned.